Oh, I'm excited for this. If you're looking to make some improvements in your diet this year, Mary Bryant Shrader, founder of the popular YouTube channel and blog Mary's Nest, and best-selling author of the Modern Pioneer Cookbook, has some tips that can help us out. She's joining us virtually today. Mary, good morning.
Good morning, Rosie. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Mary, why do you suggest people begin, a traditional food journey? You and I were talking off camera. Boy, we've gotten far away from that with, just popping into the grocery store with all these pre-made foods.
Yes, I think it's very important to start a traditional foods journey, even if it's just with baby steps, little by little by little, as we talked about creating that holistic kitchen, creating meals and bringing foods into our kitchen that nourish our body and either maintain good health or help improve our health. And we can do this in very simple ways, starting with just buying real food, working through the packaged foods we have, maybe improving them as we discussed by maybe taking away the processed salad dressing from a packaged salad and instead using a homemade oil and vinegar salad dressing, and then maybe buying a whole chicken. And it's a lot easier to cook than people realize. You can just kind of throw it in the oven with some onions and carrots and potatoes, and you have a wonderful meal of real food as opposed to buying the more expensive, like, not that boneless, skinless chicken breasts aren't real food, but you don't get the same level of nutrition, nor do you have the bones left over to, as I talk about a lot, make bone broth and then use that broth to make soup.
Yeah, where you start is with making a whole chicken, and then it's like we can learn from this process. We'll talk about the people who feel overwhelmed by this in just a second, but I do want to ask about a tip for pantries called the Four Corners. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I have a system that I call the Four Corners Pantry. And basically that's your working pantry where your typical pantry where you store your non-perishable foods. Then your refrigerator is the second corner, your freezer is the third corner, and then your extended pantry, some people nickname it the prepper pantry, where you keep backup food that you use to restock your working pantry so that you don't run out of food. And this became very popular to do during the pandemic because people didn't really have any backup food and they were running out of food. So that's sort of just the basics of the Four Corners Pantry. And what I recommend at this time of year, January is a really good time to do an inventory of what do you have on hand?
Mm.
What do you have in your working pantry, your fridge, your freezer, and your extended pantry? And if you have a lot of processed food, you can, if you're feeling very energetic and you want to donate it and just restock everything overnight, certainly you can do that. But I generally don't recommend it because I feel that can bust the budget and it can also be overwhelming. Instead, work through whatever processed foods you may have, or you can also donate some of them if you want, but work through them and just try to improve them the best you can by adding real ingredients to your meals. And then once you've worked through that, then start restocking your pantry, your Four Corners pantry, with real food, with simple ingredients. And I make this very easy for people, especially those that feel overwhelmed, because over on my website, marysnest.com, I think it's like 36 pages. You can print it out, but you can also just download it to your phone. And I call it the Essential Four Corners Pantry List. And you can take that to the grocery store with you, and it will help you look through that. You can look through that list when you're in the grocery store and see what you want to buy, what foods you like. And again, you can just buy all this at the grocery store. There's no special ordering online or doing fancy things like that. And I walk you through what to buy and how to restock these four corners of your Four Corners pantry. And then I also have links that take you to recipes to how to use these foods. I don't like to leave people high and dry and say, buy this, that, and the other thing. And then they're like, okay, Mayor, now what do I do with it?
Mary, and a question I want to follow up with here is when we talk about traditional foods, if you wouldn't mind giving me kind of a solid definition of what they are, because I think, I would look at a boneless, skinless chicken breast and I would say, well, there's nothing added to it. So it's got to be traditional, right? Can you talk me through what the definition is?
Oh, certainly. Traditional foods are the foods that our ancestors ate and how the forms that they were in and how they were properly prepared. And for example, a whole chicken is a traditional food because this is how our ancestors ate. Because the bones, a lot of people don't realize this, but the bones in the meat, when they're cooked together, release nutrients into the meat that make it easier for our bodies to digest and absorb the nutrients from those foods. The bones specifically release, yes, vitamins and minerals, but primarily they release collagen. And collagen soothes our digestive system. And when we have a soothed and healthy digestive system, we're better able to absorb nutrients. So that's an example of traditional foods. And traditional foods also are simply fresh fruits and vegetables in their natural form, properly prepared, served with some type of fat like butter, and grass-fed butter is becoming more and more popular and more affordable at the grocery store because the fat with the vegetables allows us to better absorb the nutrients from the vegetables. If we just eat vegetables, say raw and plain, our body can't digest them as well and can't absorb the nutrients as well. But when we cook them gently, mix them with some fat, whether it's butter, olive oil, whatever type of fat we like, that's in a natural state, we then absorb it. And then for dairy, if you are a person who tolerates dairy, culturing dairy to make things like homemade yogurt or improve our probiotic good bacteria in our body. And again, it all goes back to digestion. The more good bacteria we have in our body, the better we digest foods. So really, you're looking at things like bone broth, cultured dairy, ferments, foods like homemade sauerkraut, sourdough bread, and soaking and sprouting grains, like to soak your oatmeal overnight, which helps deactivate some things like phytic acid and whatnot. We can get into a lot of detail here, but it helps make the food more digestible. It's all about properly preparing real food to make it more digestible.
Well, and it sounds like we're doing the work anyway, maybe to eat the vegetables, but you want the most nutrients you can get out of those vegetables. So help yourself while you're already doing the hard work and maybe eat it prepared in a traditional way. Okay, we can't keep you much longer, Mary, but you've got a new cookbook coming out. You say you're kind of in the final stages. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, I'm very excited about it. It's all about the pantry, so it's spot on to what we're talking about today. And it'll be available for pre-sales in February and then be able to be in everyone's hands this summer.
Ooh, very exciting. Mary, congratulations on everything, and thank you for the fantastic content that you put out online. We appreciate your time this morning. Thank you.
Oh, thank you too, Rosie. So good to see you.
So good to see you. Guys, you can pre-order Mary's upcoming cookbook next month, and check out all of her videos, blogs, recipes, and more by heading to marysnest.com.